What is up? What is up? Welcome to 2023. Thank you all for being here with me this morning, this afternoon, wherever you're at in the world. Hope everyone had a great new year. Lots of emotes dropping in the chat. Love to see that. It was really fun, basically everywhere to see folks in the wild, pictures coming in of New Year's celebrations around the globe. It was fun here in the States. Just had a really chill night with some friends. And then we watched, just kind of hung out and chatted actually. And then we turned on the TV for like 5 seconds to watch a ball drop, which was very not exciting at all. And then we just kind of went back to going to bed soon. I made it to midnight. That was my plan. I made it to 12:30 and that was it. But I don't know if I'll make it next year. We actually went out to celebrate East Coast New Year's. So we'll just celebrate at 9 p.m. That seems like a lot better. So that was the goal. It's good to see everyone in the chat. We got lots of members, got lots of mods, got lots of folks in the chat. Oh my goodness. Mohammed Gerald, Grant, Felix, Daniel in the chat, Koj, Carlos, Francois, Ajar, Luce, Russell, Kiwi is in the chat, like that. Like Abdullah is in the chat. What's up, Heiko? Thanks for being members. I saw the member emotes dropping. Awesome. John, it's good to see you as well. Well, my goodness. Brewed some coffee just now. That's why I was like 5 seconds late, basically, to be honest with you. And I roasted this coffee, so it's kind of cool. It's one of my getting back to roasting, coffee roasting, that's for sure. So love to see it. Oh my goodness. Thanks everyone for dropping questions in the chat. I decided today, kick it off nice and easy, do an AMA type of action over here. Just really not a huge deal. Maybe Gerald and I will do like a what's that new thing called? They got the thing where you can do the thing together or whatever. That would probably work the best. That'd be kind of fun to do a Gerald and James exclusive stream. We've been talking about it, and they finally rolled out the duo thingy like that. That'd be kind of fun. Yeah. So AMA, ask me anything. We got about we can go for like 50 minutes or however long we got or whatever. I'm gonna make some breakfast. Make some breakfast burritos. I was gonna go get breakfast burritos yesterday, and then I was really tired, so I slept after I gave my dog insulin, and then I was like, I'm gonna go back to bed, and then I woke up at 11. I was like, I'm old and tired. That's for sure. That's how my New Year's went. But hope everyone had a great New Year's. And I did some coding, just a little bit of coding here and there, which was fun. So I asked people, ask me anything. I'll try to answer as many things as I can. I have the right to not answer every question, obviously, as much as I will. But what else? That's pretty much it. You just ask some questions, and I have some questions off of Twitter as well that people dropped in there ahead of time, so I'll get to those too. So I'll make time to make sure I get to those as well, which will be cool. All right, let's do it. And keep dropping those chats. All right, let's see what we got here. I should write them in a thing. Bump it up, bump. Okay, so no questions yet. I'm just going through the things. Yeah. So we got a few questions here. We had a question. I'm gonna combine AR's question with also Lucky from Manish from. Oh, no, not that one. No. Bruno asked on Twitter. So Bruno and ARS. So AR was asking, is Maui ready for production apps? And Bruno also asked me on Twitter. He said, what is the timeline for considering per dev team standards Maui stable? .NET 8 question mark? That was the one there. See how that goes. So yeah, good question. A lot of people ask me that, like, hey, when is the time that I should, basically if I was going to file new a project, this is the question that I get, like, hey, when I'm going to file new a project, what should I do, right, at this point in time? Because maybe they've been a Xamarin Forms developer for a long time. Now they want to come to .NET MAUI, which is the boat I'm in. Or they're just kind of looking and saying, okay, like I'm getting ready to start a mobile project for the first time. I don't know, but I'm a C# developer, so I'm going to go down this route. So what should I do? So, I think with .NET 7, there's a few things that fell into place. You have the tooling that fell into place. You have a lot of enhancements, sort of feature gaps that fell into place with .NET MAUI, as far as things that were in Xamarin Forms that were there. And then it really comes down to just the ecosystem and the different libraries that you maybe need for your application to come over and up into it. So I thought with .NET 7, it's my personal opinion that I feel like it's sort of in a place that it's ready for apps and ready for your applications. I think there was many apps that people built and shipped with .NET 6 as well, with their original launch of .NET MAUI as well. Like, is everything perfect? No, nothing's perfect always. You know what I mean? It's like every framework has a list of issues and things. And when you're working on a cross-platform framework, there's always going to be a mound of different side things that people want to do. I think the other thing to consider is if you're coming from Xamarin Forms, things are a little bit different sometimes in the world of .NET MAUI. Some of the spacing, some of the padding, some of the different things that you might want to look at using instead of using the old controls. So maybe how you're used to every single thing working in Xamarin Forms might not be exactly the same way that it works in .NET MAUI, right? But there's a lot of advantages into .NET MAUI, which is thinking about, hey, I want to use the graphics library. I want to use the new rendering framework and the handler framework that's there. I want to take advantage of the single project. I want to take advantage of all the new C# and .NET features that are in .NET 7, all the performance enhancements, things like that is the route to go down. So, as far as if I think it's production ready, like, yes, yeah. Yeah, and a same question for Abdullah here for production built applications. I don't have like a list off the top of my hand. However, from .NET Conf, just watch David and Maddie's session. They did a whole run through of like people building apps and shipping apps inside and outside of Microsoft. So that's like, what I would go to. So if you want a list of things, then there's that. We are working on the customers tab on the .NET website to have a bunch of things there as well. So let's see. Can I use Entity Framework, SQLite, and .NET MAUI? You could. I don't really think that. I think there's probably still performance issues with Entity Framework inside of like iOS and Android because of reflection and other things like that. But I think that with .NET 7, they made a lot of enhancements, and then with .NET 8 more. So, that really comes down to an Entity Framework type of thing and not a MAUI and SQLite type of thing. But I like to keep my things light in general. Just keep things light. So I usually just use SQLite. So when you're thinking of, okay, well, what are the advantages of using something such as an ORM on top of your database? Well, I would want to, think about, I would want to think about like what advantages and trade-offs am I getting instead of like, could I just do that with, could I just do that with SQLite? Like, why am I doing that? You know what I mean? Like, why do I need that in general on top of it? So that'd be the question, like, to kind of ask yourselves in general when it comes to that. So, but can you? Yes, it does work. And I think that at the .NET Conf MAUI event, Jeremy did a sample and demo with it. But again, your miles and performance may vary based on what you're doing with it. Aside from cross-platform compat, Esteban asks, do you see any reason to upgrade a WPF app to .NET MAUI? Do you want to go beyond Windows? Like, then yes, go for it. If you're very happy, like, your WPF apps can run on .NET 7, and that's what I would look to go to first. WPF's awesome, and if you're just building Windows applications, you'd be like good to go there. So, if it ain't broke, you don't need to necessarily fix it and change the entire world. So there's that. You know what I mean? So that would be my opinion there. But if you are looking to take advantage of maybe bundling up your application, putting it into the Windows, the Microsoft Store, maybe you are looking to go to Mac, for example, then natural solution there. You could also go to Avalonia as well, because you already have WPF code. That's also a good option too. So that you don't have to like rewrite a bunch of stuff. But the nice thing is, in any of these things I'm talking about, whether you start with like, I'm going to have the live chat open so I can see like, follow-up questions coming in real time here. Yeah. So, but I think that like, regardless of where you start, you always have that sort of, if you're doing an MVVM type of style, you're always going to have the ability to reuse that MVVM and that shared code, right? Whether it's a WPF app now or whether it's something else, right? so that would be like the thing to look at in general. So whether it's like coming from Xamarin Forms, from WPF, Avalonia, Uno, any of those things, like you have all that stuff. Let's see. Gleam-S. Yeah, Gerald always with quick responses. Because he can type, he can watch in real time. Yeah, I have to talk. That's easy. Why does the YouTube like button not work for 60 live viewers? I set up a support ticket? Yeah, you should totally set up a support ticket. You should totally everyone should like this video and it should be trending. I don't know. That's a good question. That's a good question. Here. Okay. Oh, it actually popped down there. Look at that. Let's see what else we got. Oh yeah, someone was asked for Mohammed was asking plugin for background geolocation. Someone was also asking for Bluetooth low energy. So for background stuff, technically my geolocation plugin still works. Would I recommend it? No. Gerald's right here. Shiny is the library that you basically always want to use for just like everything. And it's come a long way. But it really depends on what you're looking to support. It doesn't support Windows though. That's the only other thing. But if you, let me pop over to my computer. There we go. It supports all sorts of stuff. So Shiny Lib is from Alan Ritchie. It's open source. You can check it out on the GitHub. There it is. So it has all sorts of good stuff in it. But basically it supports, Xamarin apps, WebAssembly apps. There's like a V3, which is there. And it supports all sorts of stuff. So it supports Bluetooth client and hosting, beacon ranging, GPS, geolocation, activity monitoring. So if you're driving, walking, doing more, push notifications, local notifications, that is definitely like what you want to be using basically at the end of the day. Like the Shiny stuff is like the best. It got like templates, got all sorts of stuff. So that's really the jam in general. So Alan's doing a great job there. So super appreciate him putting in all the hard effort there. So good one for sure. That's the thing I've talked about like 5 billion times. So that's definitely it. There we go. I don't know how to Bob. I'm gonna have a mistake. That's how I can read it here. Will open street maps be supported in the MAUI map control? I don't think so. Gerald could talk to it. But there is a library that I use, which is MapSui. Or Maps UI, but it's actually MapSui, which is pretty great. I just actually used it this holiday as my holiday hack, specifically to add maps into my skiing application that I have. So that's really nice. It uses, OpenStreetMaps, and you just plug it in, and you can do basically anything on all the geometry. It's super duper nice. Supports pretty much everything. It supports Xamarin Forms, WPF, UWP, iOS, Android, Avalonia, Edo Forms, MAUI, Uno, WinUI. Supports all the things. So that's pretty rad. They just does everything. So pretty cool. All right, cool. Let's answer a question off of Twitter really quick. Roger asks over here, what is the thing that you look most forward to in the .NET ecosystem? .NET 8, .NET MAUI. And Juan, thank you for the subscription over here. Hit that subscribe button. Appreciate that. In 2023, it's a good question. Have I thought about it? Have I thought about what I want the most of this year out of 2028? Yeah, I think every year we're going to get a new version of .NET 8. So what's the most exciting thing that I'm looking forward to this year? It's a good question. I think probably what I'm most excited about maybe is just to see if we are going to get new form factors that we can develop for. Like, is Apple working on a VR headset? I don't really love VR that much, but like, are they? Because that could be kind of fascinating in general. I think what I'm looking forward to the most in general is probably just everything continuing on. I always say with Frank is like, I would like it to be like a chill year, even though I know it won't be, because it'll be exciting with .NET 8. I know the teams building all the different projects are going to be doing a lot of hard work on everything. I'm pretty excited for the Azure Developer CLI, actually. This is something that I saw demo from Shane at VS Live, and I was pretty excited about it because it really sort of simplified the Azure deployments that we have. and just a few lines of infrastructure code with like different bicep files and things. So I'm pretty excited in that world. I would also say that I'm excited for the continuing like containerization support and learning that stuff. So if I look at like what I'm excited for, it might be different than what you're excited for, because I think I'm excited for what I'm going to be learning in 2023. So if I was to recap the question, what am I looking forward most to in 2023 for .NET? I think it's a few things. One is the ecosystem around MAUI really coming into its own and everyone contributing in. I think the continued collaboration between Canonical and Microsoft and the Ubuntu and Linux containers for .NET. And for me, it's learning more about, infrastructure as code, deployments to Azure, and also all the work around microservices and containerization. So those would be the things that I'm most excited looking forward to. And that's a lot of learning on my part. That's for sure. Yeah. Do you think Blazor would be a thing? It already is a thing. I literally 2 days ago built an entire Blazor static web app and deployed it in under 30 minutes and had a full website up and running. Boom. Yeah. Would I do an episode where I teach my mom or another family member how to make a to-do app? I teach it. I could do it for anybody. How about you, Grant? I don't know. There'd be that. I did that for like, I do like workshops and things like that. That's for sure. But there it is. Oh, there's Alan. Alan's in the chat. Oh, yeah. I like Alan is saying in the chat, like, yeah, free open source is not a product necessarily. I didn't sell anything. That's correct. He's just a man making a library. Happy New Year, Alan, as well. Good to see you. There we go. Is App Center coming for .NET MAUI? Yes, it is. They talked about that at .NET Conf as well, and like all the stuff that's going into that as well. So there's that. There you go. Okay, from Lucas, what app do you use to zoom in and out during your presentations? So it seems like you're no longer using Zoom It, because during the Zoom, your mouse cursor is not duplicated, which is something Zoom It does. So Lucas, clever Lucas. That's a good question. Great question. So I mostly do, it depends. If I'm presenting in person, I mostly use Magnifier that's built into Windows. So Windows Plus will zoom in, and I usually modify that quite a bit. So I change the settings that are there. The nice thing about this is that it seems to work everywhere that's there. The main reason to use Zoom It, which I still do use on some occasion when I'm doing workshops or really long form or I'm teaching, is mostly for the drawing aspects. So you can draw arrows and lines and draw around things, which is really nice. So I do have all of sysinternals installed on my machine, and Zoom It as well. However, for most of the time I use just Magnifier, and on Mac, you can turn on an accessibility feature to magnify, and then you can like 2 or 3 finger hold down and scroll up and down, and that will zoom in wherever you're at. That's what I use on a Mac. Now, when it comes to videos and live streaming, for live streaming, that's what I would use as well, basically. So because it's live. But what I've learned because of the mouse duplication and because of just the oddities of trying to, trying to present and do screen capture with OBS and zoom in on things, I don't actually zoom anymore while I'm creating videos. I do everything in post. So I capture everything locally on my machine, and then I go in and then I use Camtasia to do my editing, and I add zooms in and out, which zoom in and then zoom out and pan around on it. And the main reason I do that is because it enables me to be more selective. I'm always capturing the full frame. Basically, I'm always capturing like everything that's up, and then I'm in control of zooming in or zooming out. So that's what I do. And I have a video on my YouTube, which is all about how I create videos on my YouTube as well. So there's that. Yeah. What do you think about Avalonia or Uno or other ones? Ivan asks. I love the .NET ecosystem. It's very question. Like, it's a great question, in general. I think that coming from the world of Xamarin and then having Xamarin Forms, there's always been these amazing projects that have been out there that do cross-platform UI, sometimes with .NET and sometimes not with .NET, right? And I think in the world of .NET, the best part of it is that we have choices, right? Is that if you are looking for a stamped, package and library from Microsoft, well, you have that with .NET MAUI that builds on top of iOS, Android, Mac for just .NET. Now, Avalonia and Uno, which are some of the most popular non-Microsoft libraries to do cross-platform UI, are a little bit different just in their approach, right? Whether it's the custom drawing mechanism that they're using or the flavor of XAML and controls that they're using. So most of what I say is like, use what's right for you. What features are you looking for? What platforms do you need to hit? And what's going to work great for you in general. So for me, I love seeing what people are building. To me, if you're building it with .NET, and whether you're building with Uno, Avalonia, or .NET MAUI, you're building it with the same stuff that the .NET MAUI team is building on top of, which are those core platforms on top of it, right? So that's the cool part of it, of .NET. Is like, you're still a .NET iOS or Android or Windows developer or Mac developer on top of that, just using a different flavor of UI. So it's kind of the same thing in web, right? Are you using controllers? Are you using minimal APIs? Are you using different, APIs from and scaffolding mechanisms and API mechanisms from the community? Like, that's up to you. So to me, it's not one or the other. And in fact, what's cool is like Avalonia is having a .NET MAUI control, so you can drop that into your .NET MAUI app if you have it, and that's really neat. So it's blending of things. Same thing with Blazor and Blazor Hybrid, right? It's like not one or the other. It's how can maybe you use those things together there. So to me, it's not a competition. So I've never looked at it like that. It's an ecosystem. So there's that. We jump down to the bottom. Got some good ones here. I'm looking for the tabs bottom bar, like the community toolkit. You should look at the Sharpnado tabs. That's what I would look at for doing tabs and stuff like that. Sharpnado tabs. Here you go. Boop. Yeah, these are great. If you're looking for any custom tabs, any things like that, it's totally good to go. So. And it's not going to support every platform, though. It's the only thing. Sometimes with, libraries, look at that, but you can always take a look at the code and pop it in there. Okay, let's see if we have any other questions up here. Woo! You can repeat questions if I didn't get to them as well. So there's that. So what's the best way to get more companies to use Blazor, since a lot of them are using web forms? It's a good question. To me, I think it's about education, right? And sometimes if it ain't broke, there's no need to fix it or invest money in it. So it's like, again, if things are evolving, like the WPF question earlier is like, do I need to make that change? Do I need to move forward? Like, where's the balance of that? That's always a hard question to answer for any organization, any company, right? To me, it's, hey, what is the time and investment? What am I going to get out of it? And sometimes as an engineering team, we need to show that to our management of here's why we want to do this, because we can take advantage of modern build systems, modern XYZ. We can take advantage of the latest .NET. We're going to get performance gains. We're going to just be able to hire more people faster because we're using more things. I think with Blazor, people are like, it's Blazor or nothing, right? Well, the Blazor is just part of ASP.NET Core. So also you can mix that with Razor Pages and MVC and all that stuff together. So it's not one or the other again. Sometimes that's how it's presented or how people interpret it, but it's really not, right? So there's things to look at there in general. So, but that it's just, ideally community. A lot of these things are grassroots efforts. And what I mean by that is, people talking to their local user group, people doing blog posts, people doing internal presentations, right? We do a lot of stuff from Microsoft's perspective to try to get the word out, but it takes, people, basically. That's what it takes at the end of the day. So there's that. R, thank you for just hanging out. Appreciate that. How do you make an app update itself? I think you're looking for like, man, what's that React Native thing that used to do? Code push? I think you're looking at code push. Does like web stuff. So I guess technically you might be able to you might be able to do some stuff where like you use like Blazor Hybrid, or like you pull down stuff to create like UI dynamically. maybe. But again, you know, if you start to change your application too much while it's running, like, you know, it kind of goes against the App Store policies as well. But like code push is not like a thing that's like supported. So put it out there too. Yeah. This question's too complicated for me to answer, I think so. Why don't you create a short movie? Whoa. For a template with all platforms, listing items, groupings, a short movie? You just want a video on that? I think I have a bunch of those in here. That's a good question. I mean, I can answer those, yeah. On the back end, what are your thoughts about Azure Functions app? Are they calling this native cloud or providing the REST API for the app? Adam asks, backends for your application. Good question. I love Azure Functions. They're like my favorite thing in the entire world because I'm not a web developer and I understand Azure Functions. And I think that they are awesome, pretty much. I mean, I think there's a few things that you can look at. Like if you're looking for just, you know, backend APIs, you can use any API to actually go out and do it in general. Just any REST API can be consumed in applications, right? I think Azure Functions are a great way of looking at it because especially if you have some things that just need to scale and demand and are event driven here and there, then that would be like the way to do it. And then beyond that, you know, I would look at just web API and I would look at, you know, doing stuff there. You can also in web API, you could integrate in things like Azure mobile apps to do online offline data sync with your mobile apps too. Like that's been upgraded to .NET 7 and adds different support in too. You could look at, you know, Firebase technically for mobile app stuff. It's a little bit less control, right? There's a few other libraries out there, but you know, mostly, yeah, REST APIs, functions are good. But again, every app's gonna be different. So, you know, based on what your needs are, probably a full API, it'd probably be the way to go. But if you're writing something that just needs to serve up data on occasion, then maybe functions are good. Like I have a skiing app and I worked with that team basically to say, I was going to just use Azure Functions to take their data and put it into my data, but we just hosted their static files up on their website and stuff. But in general, like that worked fairly well. So, oh yeah, good update from Alan. Alan was asking down here about the update stuff. Yeah, technically you can use App Center Distribute to distribute and update your applications to yourself or even to the App Store, right? So how do I develop applications today? Well, what I have is I have my CI/CD build system set up that every time I do a push to my main branch, right, it actually will go off, it will build my application, and then it will push a build to the test flight in Apple Developer Center and to Google Play into my alpha channels as well. So I have that set up basically to go through and do that automatically every single push to main when I'm developing, because that helps me automatically get things ready. You can go not through those as well, and you can just have ad hoc packages that you install on your machine locally, and it's faster because nothing's processing there. But there's that. So the support MAUI now. You can take anything and use the distribute center. I think the build stuff technically you can. I think there's some documentation out there on it. I haven't done it yet. I'm probably moving more towards like a GitHub Actions type of flow, and then maybe pushing into App Center from there. So. And there you go. And Alan said it does support MAUI. There you go. I don't know if you can like do file and you like click on it and do a thing, but it has all that stuff built in. I'm going to scroll up a little bit here. Let's see if I have any other questions that I'm just kind of going through. How was my trip to Europe last year? Fantastic. Oh my goodness. Yeah, last year we went to the Netherlands, visited my good friend Gerald, and I left a bunch of stuff at his house. That was pretty cool. To Tekorama, which was really fantastic to see. I went to Europe twice last year. Man, last year was crazy. And then we went over to Poland, which was super duper cool. And there was another conference there that I presented at in a user group as well. And that was really fun. We had a few days in between the conferences, so we were able to kind of explore all of Poland, and that was really really awesome to see. We were able to really get around to a lot of different locations. I got to go to the pinball museum that they had there and play some pinball one day, walk around a bunch. We just saw all the sites, just saw so many cool things. So it was all super good. It was awesome to see people. I love Techorama. I love the Netherlands. I love the train system in the Netherlands. That is for sure. So that was really cool. We got to hop on trains. You know, it doesn't seem like a big thing if you're from Europe and you're just hopping on trains every day. But as an American, we like never hop on trains, like maybe like New Yorkers. But trains are so cool and they work so well. I don't know. You know, I love trains and they're a little expensive. But I guess you'd probably have a pass or something if you live there. I don't know how that works, Gerald. But anyways, the train system in the Netherlands are amazing. So there's that. There you go. Ethan asks if there's any other resources for learning to build Xamarin or .NET MAUI applications. Hopefully Gerald's already dropped it, but Gerald has a great GitHub. I'm talking Gerald. I don't even know how to. I don't know how to say Gerald's last name. Verslus. That's what I'm gonna say. Gerald, I'm sorry. No one knows how to say my last name, so it's okay too. Gerald is I should know. Gerald and I have been like friends for like forever. He has a cool library. If I can find it, he needs to pin it probably in his overview. Oh, there we go. There it is. Oh, it's pinned. Touche. Is this it? The learn.net MAUI resources. There we go. So this is a cool. Pop to my computer. On Gerald's one, it's kind of like there's like awesome .NET MAUI and there's other stuff. Like this is a really good one that Gerald put together, which is like learning resources and for blogs and books and all sorts of different things that you can go through in general. So this is a nice learning resource area that you can go to in general. So that's nice. And then of course, also when you're on the .NET website, right, there's MAUI, and then where's the learning portal stuff here? So there's all sorts of different videos and learning resources and stuff here. We should probably add that into here. We have the awesome .NET MAUI repo from Javier, but we can add that into here, Gerald. Actually, that might be good to do. That'd be cool. Slipper asks, why does everyone say .NET MAUI is not ready? Can you elaborate more on that? Well, I think it's a little bit two-sided, right? There are tons of people that I've seen and talked to online, in person, via email that are building and shipping applications and are super happy with everything, right? And just like anything that you're using on the internet or any product you buy, based on what you're using it for, what your needs are, there might be some rough edges that maybe you expect something to work in one way and it doesn't. So you think, well, that's a bug. Maybe it is a bug. Maybe it's not a bug. Maybe there's like a workaround, or maybe it's like just not intended how that was created, right? So I think a lot of folks that are maybe like longtime devs, you know, coming over and expect everything to one-to-one or trying to do something unique that's there. There's that. And yet there's tons of people that are building and shipping apps into the world. Like David and Maddie talked about it at .NET Conf 2022, and they talked about all the, you know, projects that are out there, and I've done tweets about people building and shipping applications out there. So there's that, right? Yeah, I think if you'd come into it in .NET 6, you know, early on, the tooling wasn't done, and I feel like that's maybe why a lot of folks were like, well, the tooling in Visual Studio is not done. I can't really do a lot of these other things were there, right? So I think there's like two form factors there, which is like with .NET 7 in November, like all the tooling on Mac and PC finalized, everything in the SDK got updated with .NET 7. And then now it's just like we have community stuff coming up and libraries and support coming up. So sometimes that takes a while to rebuild up, but I think the community's done a great job of bringing those things forward but sometimes things take time, right? So there's that in general. I think a lot of folks also, like when we talk about other projects, whether it's like React Native or Flutter or .NET MAUI or other things like that, like each framework and each library have you know, they're open source. They have a list of their issues and their bugs. They have workarounds for some of them. There's real issues in some of them. There's feature gaps in some of them, right? No framework is perfect. And I don't think anyone on the team or I've ever said that. Even in my 11 plus years of doing this in Xamarin, like, you use the best tool that's for you, that works best for your scenario based on your needs. So, you know, what's out there that could be for some people using like the native language libraries, if they're just building and shipping like just an iOS app and they're very familiar with like Swift, for example, or if you're someone who's asking, should I do a Java or a C# just an Android app, like not using .NET MAUI? Well, probably use Kotlin first, but you know, well, it's up to you. Like, are you a C# developer, right? Or is this gonna fall at home, or is the tooling and the things best for you there? Like, I would hope, and I know the team hope is that everyone uses C# and .NET for everything, right? But it's not how every single company works. I think that's what the team is enabling, right? And hopefully it fits for you there. So I'd like to know if there's something like SF symbols for Swift UI as for .NET MAUI. I don't know SF symbols. SF symbols. Oh, it's just like a bunch of symbols. That's a good question. I don't know how I do this. SF symbols. I just use font awesome, basically. That's what I would do. Well, there's 240 megs. I don't know how this would actually work. Yeah. I just use like font awesome pretty much is what I would use. Although if these are just like, are these just like PNGs? Are they like in there? I guess you could download them and put them in your app. I need to go read about this. I'll go watch a video. That's what I learned. See, it's always a fun learning opportunity here. Yeah. Do I have an instrumentation test sample? I don't, but I think that the team has some great documentation on profiling and doing stuff for Android. If you go into, I would take a look at, pop back over here. If I head over to the .NET blog in MAUI, I would probably look at the last 3 blogs from me. I would look at this performance one. I think that probably Peppers does like the best of actually like breaking down on putting links to everything, that how things work basically and what the team does to debug it. And this is a pretty amazing article. So I would look there. Can I use biometric authentication? Sure, you can use biometrics. So there's libraries out there to do it. You can use the native APIs. It's all in there. So it's all good to go. Where should I look for full-time jobs? I don't know. Where do people look for jobs? LinkedIn? I got my first job off at Dice. I don't even know if Dice is still a company or do that stuff. I'm assuming they are, right? There's that. Lucas, any plans for Linux and MAUI? Not right now as far as official support. I think the team's just focusing on what they have and stabilization. There are some community initiatives out there to do stuff there, but yeah, there's no new stuff at all, anything there. Yeah, I think for biometrics, right? Like how you think about how they work is normally your user will log in first. So they actually have to log in first and then it turn on Face ID, for example. Because once they're logged in, basically then you can say, oh, they are logged in, register the face and the thing with the API, and then now they're good to go, right? So it's not like, oh, I got my phone, log in, and then boom, I'm in right away. I actually still have to log in and do my 2-factor auth and whatever, and then I'm in. So Steven asked, you know a place to rent a Mac in Cloud? Mac in Cloud. That's still a product, right? Yes. It's literally, if you would have Googled your words, it's there. Bam. You can own your own Mac. No, your own cloud Mac. I read that wrong. So Mac in Cloud totally works. And like, well, there's a Xamarin Studio in there. That's great. That was one of the major features is like, you know, having that stuff built in. So they actually have a bunch of stuff. They have different tools and Visual Studio pre-installed and whatnot. Yeah, how much is this? There you go. Pay as you go. Managed server per month, a dedicated server. There's an Azure agent. Whoa. Oh, you're gonna have it. Whoa, that's kind of cool. You're gonna have an Azure pipeline for it. that's genius. Just your own in there as well. It's kind of nice. If you wanted a dedicated, your own pipe. So you could look at that pretty much. That's what I would look at. That'll give you the stuff, and it's kind of like you log in and do the stuff. So, it's not a Microsoft product. It's its own company doing its own thing. But people have used it for a long time. Use RDP in. You're like totally good to go. So that would be what I would use, Steven, is Mac and Cloud. Or take a look at Mac Mini, maybe. Something like that. That's maybe the way to go if you're looking, what's your trade-off, your time and investment in Mac and Cloud versus having something local there in general. Do we need to duplicate the user interface when combining a MAUI app with MAUI Blazor hybrid apps? Interfacing, Hans, I don't know exactly what you mean. I mean, well, you'd either be using your Blazor UI code or your .NET MAUI code, or putting your Blazor code in there. So ideally, you're not duplicating it because you're reusing your Blazor Razor code everywhere. Hector asks, I was wondering about auto updating the MAUI app along the lines of detecting when a new version is available in the App Store. Both iOS and Android have this capability built in for native apps. So that is available to do. I think it's an Android X package. And I think it's just a core API of iOS. And you're able to like prompt a screen to do stuff. So you could look at those APIs. I haven't used them personally, but there's there. Yeah. Okay, there's a repost. I like when people say a repost. Whoa. That's a good question. Yeah, I think also when you're looking for, .NET jobs, I consider, and myself a .NET developer, so I can kind of jump around to what I'm looking for. So, always look for, what you're looking for. If you're really like, I only want to build .NET MAUI apps and that's it. Like, just like anything, the smaller the more granular your job hunt is, obviously like less jobs will be there. That's just like how any job works in the world. But if you look broader into saying I'm a .NET developer and I specialize in these things, I'd be happy with these things, and maybe it morphs around. So where's the repost one? So many great questions. Thanks everyone for asking so many questions. I love AMAs. They're really easy because I just have to talk. Ari's asks, why use MVVM instead of code behind on Xamarin or .NET MAUI or anything that's there? Whoa, Trisha, thank you for becoming a member. Welcome to the Monkey Coffee crew. Wow, 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 wow. You got sweet emo now. Thank you so much for hanging out. Should be a little pop-up that's here. I have a whole video on why MVVM, so I would recommend you go check that out on my channel videos. There's a whole why MVVM section. There's nothing wrong with code behind. The thing ends up becoming is as your application grows in complexity, there are things that an MVVM or any sort of architecture, MVC or anything like that. Yes, MVVMs with services, MVVMs architecture just enables. At some point, it may seem like you're doing a little bit more work up front, but then in the long term, it can actually help you do things faster. There we go. Thanks, Christian. There we go. It happens. It's pretty delayed on this stream. It's like a little pop-up, but that's great. And so that's what I look at, right? And even in my applications, like when I was building the My Cadence app, I did almost everything in the code behind, and now I'm really converting more and more of it over into doing more MVVM style, even just for little things, because it just makes things a lot better. However, I just built an entire new mapping application segment of my ski application, and all the code's in the code behind because it's all just adjusting the UI. Like it makes no sense for it to be in a separate file to do a bunch of different stuff. I do have some things like an is busy and a few things that are MVVM, but it's a mix match where like, maybe 25% in a separate MVVM file, and then, 75% just UI stuff. So, it's totally fine to mix and match. You want your UI, I think it's fine to have your UI interaction there. What you want to think about is like testability long term of your applications, and why like a lot of people want, a lot of people want that testability and have that code that's doing data manipulation in a separate file. So there's that. Yeah. Can you explain App Center a little bit? Yeah, sure, Hector. I can explain App Center a little bit. So App Center sort of came out a long time ago, but you can think of it as, a mobile specific version with mobile specific services. There's like, Azure DevOps is sort of before GitHub Actions and the GitHub ecosystem. It kind of sat in between, which is like, hey, Azure DevOps has all this nice stuff, but for mobile developers building, desktop and mobile applications, there's a lot of requirements that your machines needs, right? So there are a bunch of these like Circle CI and Bitrise and a bunch of other, CI/CD specific platforms that enable you to point at a say I'm building with Kotlin, or I'm building with Swift, or I'm building with Xamarin, or I'm building with, React Native, or building with Flutter. Like you have these options to say I'm building with this thing, basically set the default VM image for my build system to know about the dependencies so I don't have to do anything. So have Xcode installed, have all this other stuff that's there. And then what I would say is App Center started with CI and continuous integration. So it tied into your GitHub or Bitbucket or these other things. And then it could build, it can sign, it can then connect to app stores, it can deploy to it. And then it added on other things like analytics and crash reporting for those scenarios as well. And it had a vision of doing a lot more like push notifications and other stuff, but they sort of re-architected it there. And there's also a testing component too. So it's a bunch of like services specifically for mobile in general. So that's App Center. AppCenter.ms is there. Yeah, so SD, I think I added a few good links to the getting started there, but that's how it would look. Yeah, Jay Williams, just like we were talking about Blazor and the Blazor community, I think it's just us talking about it, us sharing what we're building, whether it's good, whether it's bad, working and collaborating on open source projects, making videos, making blog posts, presenting at user groups. Like you get the word out. We're one global community that's out there. Yeah. Can I add a view model to App Shell? Yeah, go for it. It's just, it's there. People do it all the time. Yeah, go for it, Joe. It's a great question. Yeah, you could easily do that. If you have it between them, it's totally there. You could also have a view model that is like a singleton. So it's shared between all of them and it's injected between all of them as well. Clifton asked about broadcast receivers. I don't know. You could use the Flashlight API maybe inside of .NET MAUI. What's my opinion on ChatGPT? Finally, a non-coding question. Thank you. Oh, Thomas as well. These are good questions to kind of end this out on. Maybe I'll try to do rapid fire. Got a few minutes here. ChatGPT. Frank and I were talking about this on a podcast because there's not only ChatGPT but also all the image creation stuff. Like that was cool. I think that for me. I just need to see it used in a scenario. I think that if I am coming in, I want to see how it's applied to my tool, right? In general. So, maybe there's some integration in Visual Studio that could be done, or into learning platform, or it can enhance chat and different things like that. So ChatGPT is cool. Just like in general, GitHub Copilot's super cool, right? It's a different form factor of AI inside of it, right? Or for me, I would love to see some of the different tooling for the images like be integrated into YouTube, right? Like how could they, help me create thumbnails faster? How could ChatGPT maybe generate a description for my YouTube videos, for example? You know what I mean? That's what I would look at in general. So that's what I'm in general about. Favorite cheese? Good question. When we were in the Netherlands, we did go to the home of Gouda cheese, Gouda, as well, which is a great shop, and also the home of the originator of the Stroopwafel. which is delicious. We got an original stroopwafel as well. Favorite cheese. I'm a big manchego fan. Myself, Spanish style cheeses with charcuterie board style stuff is delectable. We have a grocery store here called Trader Joe's, and they make something called unexpected cheddar, and it's like a delectable cheddar. It has like a little bit of sweetness and saltiness in it as well. Very, very good. There was a black truffle Gouda cheese, I think it was, that we had in the Netherlands. That was amazing. I like pretty much all cheeses. I'm not a huge fan of like super soft cheeses. But yes, yeah, love cheeses. What's your favorite cheese? Drop your favorite cheese in the chat. Ming, yes, App Center will support Maui, and it already supports it today. That's what Alan was saying earlier, and they talked about that before. Multifunction. I'm looking at Clipton's thing. Clipton, you probably have to follow up with me. It's really, really specific questions that are there. Maybe you fire off an intent, it should just do it, right? That has nothing to do with Maui at that point. In general, you know, I'd have to like look at your code. I can't really debug problems over it, but yeah, send me an email or hit me up on Twitter or something like that with a source code example that's there. But yeah. Oof. What other questions we got? Do you use more MVVM or MVC? I use MVC with web usually more, and then MVVM with mobile and .NET MAUI and WPF or XAML type applications in general. What about CI/CD on Azure DevOps? Yeah, it's the same. Azure DevOps, App Center, GitHub Actions, go for it. Yeah. Pingu said, finish the Monkey Finder workshop. Awesome. So glad you did it. There. And Delius, yes. I would like to do a full course. Well, there's multiple full courses, right? That are there. I'll probably do like another workshop. I need to actually expand the workshop, and Joe and I have been talking about that quite a bit. For Blazor Hybrid as well. So we're thinking about what we can do in 2023 now that we're here. So are there any docs on how things work internally? Yeah, I think there's a bunch of documentation rumfos on that under the hood. I guess you could dive into the code a little bit too. I don't know if the teams work on like further like crazy like dark, deeper, darker architecture, but there's basically just like the MAUI API, the handler level, and then the native controls that sits on top of it. That's there. Yeah, MVVMs. Web Authenticator. Yeah, Web Authenticator is not in the Windows like WinUI framework that's there. So there's a bunch of stuff that needs to go into that. For social auth, you could look at MSAL, so msal.net, Microsoft Authentication Library. That'll handle it for you. AMPS as well. I already answered a bunch of stability and Flutter, Avalonia questions earlier, so you can go back in time there. So if you're like, why aren't you answering my question about this stuff? Because I probably already answered it. Doing markup, a C# markup. A lot of things are focus on like XAML first, and then so it's usually like the way the markup things have gone. So I think the documentation team is looking at how to do more back and forth on that. All right, I think we're good because it's 9 o'clock. It's time to make breakfast burritos. I think in general, unless there's any other questions. I think that's it. When will Maui get built-in JavaScript interrupt? You could do that with Blazor Hybrid today. Totally just do that in general. Like you need some web view, web stuff in general. I guess you're like, oh, can I call a JavaScript library? Yeah, I mean, you could have like a tiny Blazor control that like calls into JavaScript, I guess. That'd be it. Yeah. So that's probably what I would look at doing. Yeah. Can we make a video about APIs and frameworks that are best for different apps and programs? Yeah, maybe. Smile, you'd have to ask me to reach out to me on Twitter and tell me exactly what you're looking for there. That'd be kind of cool. Yeah, I'd be interested. All right. We did it. The first AMA with hundreds of questions. Let me see if there's anything else on Twitter. Yep. So Oscar kind of answered Oscar's question. Updates on web, not Blazor in Maui. I think just Blazor hybrid support because that's what it's built for there. There's that. And then we got Bruno's question, so that's good there. Let's see if there's, I'm going to refresh and see if anyone else came in off of Twitter and has any questions there. Nope, we're good. Okay, cool. That's good. All right, awesome. Easy questions-ish questions. So there's that. So, boom. All right, I think it's going to end it for this AMA. Appreciate everyone hanging out for the chat and for just being awesome. I really appreciate it. There we go. I hope everyone's having a great start to 2023. I'm going to keep making videos, putting out stuff over here, doing some more shorts and some other stuff, and maybe do a duet thingy with whatever the thing's called, collab with Gerald as well. Let me know what videos you want to see on the channel. Try to make it happen. You know what I mean? Yeah, that's it. All right. Thanks everyone for tuning in. If you really, really like this, let me know. You can give the thumbs up, leave some comments below if you want to see more of these on occasion. You know, it could be about anything. Yeah, I'll keep the videos rolling in my spare time. I have another day off of work, so maybe tomorrow I'll make a video on something. I don't know yet. But thanks everyone for being, subscribers, for being members, for watching videos. It helps the channel. It's been super fun. I did the 2022 recap video recently, and that was super fun to look back and also to kind of look at how the channel's been doing over the last year. And so it's been fun. All right, everyone. I hope you have an amazing rest of your January 2nd, I guess, kind of looking at, since it was Sunday yesterday, like recognition of New Year's Day. Hopefully people have off and can chill. If you're back at work and watching this video, thanks for tuning in. And I'll see y'all next time back over here. Cheers.